Hello, everyone. I'm John Higgins, contributing writer to Film and TV Now, and I'm delighted to welcome one and all to this interview special with actress Izzy Jones and director Lola Atkins, who are part of the team behind the new 90s drum and bass musical drama Purple Beatz, which opens in the UK on October the 24th and a day later in the US on October the 25th. And it tells of a young woman pursuing her dream as a singer in London in the 90s. Lola, Izzy, good warm welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Okay, so Lola, just want to start off. I mean, what prompted you to make a film against the backdrop of drum and bass in the 90s?
Well, I love drum and bass. Well, I was a huge drum and bass fanatic in the 90s. It was a sound that I grew up on growing up as a young teen. And yeah, and as like all genres, it died its death slowly in the early 2000s, but I think there's a revival coming there's a slow revival growing at the moment, and yeah, I'm a huge fan of the sounds, drum and bass, and that's the only reason why, because I just love the music, really. Yeah.
Okay. And Izzy, I've got to talk to you because I saw the film at the premiere. I mean, we first met at the premiere. I mean, you performed some excellent vocals in the film. I mean, tell us a bit more about your own musical background.
I have always sung since I was little. Whether it was good or not when I was younger is debatable. But yeah, I've always sung. There was always music in the house. So I've had a really eclectic mix of musical influence. Really similar to SJ as well in the film. She's a jazz, blues, soul kind of funk girl, and that is basically my upbringing. I was brought up on a lot of music from the 60s, Etta James, Nina Simone. So I sort of took on that love of that, and that went into my singing as well. I've done a whole load, classical singing, some opera, but really, like, my love kind of landed me more in musical theatre territory, and yeah, just keep to the soul and the blues vibes. I think if I really chose to sing something, it would be bluesy, it would be jazzy. And I've just kept singing, really, and I've been really lucky to be able to sing in projects, in shows, and in film as well, which feels quite rare. So yeah.
Okay. I mean, it does take me back. I mean, in the late 90s, I was a late developer and I did sort of hang out at some old classic retro clubs. I mean, I used to go to things like House of Fun at the Forum in Kentish Town, and schooldisco.com was a major one in the early noughties and stuff. It was a real big club. I mean, I went to the New Year's Eve dues down at the London Arena when that was open. But I mean, what did you have clubbing days? I mean, what was your and this is for both of you. I mean, what were your own clubbing days like if you had them?
Lola, do you want to
Yeah,
take it?
well, I was a heavy, a heavy clubber. Every Friday, literally from Friday to Sunday. If I'm not working during the week, making my money, and then going out spending it all over the weekend, that was my life. Yeah, that was what I was doing for many years. And obviously, I grew up, I got older, bills started piling, and I just had to block all that out. But yeah, I've loved clubbing. It's part of who, it's part of me. Clubbing. Even now, I club occasionally if I got time. But yeah, no, I'm a huge clubber. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, let's talk. I mean, we've got Izzy leading the line in the film. I mean, tell us a bit about the rest of the cast.
Yeah, so we've got the phenomenal Erica Alexander. She plays Dee Dee. So she's Sarah Jane's best friend. She's a phenomenal actress. She really brought that sisterhood, bestie relationship. She brought it to life. With Izzy. So they've got this really fun girl relationship going on, that like your every girlfriend that you've got, that you can always hang out with, tell things that you can't tell your mother, you know. So that's kind of like they had a really strong bonding relationship between themselves, and she's just amazing. And then we've of course got Aaron von Andrian, so he plays Russell D. He's just insane, brilliant talent guy. He plays of course Russell D, who is the baddie. People call him the baddie so far. From what I've been hearing so far, he portrays the character so to the T. People think he's crazy, and that's what we wanted. He's a junkhead, you know. So yeah, he was phenomenal in that character as well. And of course, we've got Stephen Michael O'Hara. So he plays the love interest in the film, Air Beats. Again, fantastic talent. You know, he brought his A game, and of course, he really showed that, you know, men can cry for their girls. And people were asking me that because there was a scene where he's like all emotional, like, oh my god, you actually showed a guy and it does happen, you know. Normally, if there's a friction relationship, you don't see the emotional side of a man, because, you know, he's all butch and strong, you know, he doesn't want to show his emotion. But men do feel, you know, they are vulnerable, and they do of course express how they feel at that time, and he did all of that fantastically. And of course we had Ted, who plays the dad. He's a great talent. And then there's Steve Shirley, who also plays Ollie. So yeah, we had some great talent, you know, who we was just so lucky to have them on the film.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the production team. I mean, tell us a bit more about that. And I mean, your cinematographer. I think this was pointed out at the premiere that your cinematography is really capturing the period in a wonderful thing. But tell us a bit more about your production team.
Yeah, so we've got Violetta. She's my DOP. She was, I call her my gangster. She was insane, and when we were shooting, she was just really, really. She's very highly skilled, very technical. So she just, you know, during pre-production, we went over and above what I wanted to achieve in the shoot, and she obviously delivered. And of course, then we had the costume by Anna Bevan. Again, she was very delicate in finding materials and outfits that, you know, that wasn't the time, you know, like your dungarees, your baggies, and all, because that was, you know, your leather jackets, all of those, your denims. So she was out there hunting in, you know, in all these antiques, trying to find these sort of outfits, and she delivered. And of course, we had Maiden Vasco, and funny enough, this was his first feature for set design, and he was crazy. He really went to, you know, he was scouting eBay looking for, you know, like CD players, you know, DVDs, all these things that we can't get anymore. So he was really diligent in trying to find all of the content, the props we need for set. And, you know, there's so many to mention, you know, oh God, Dennis, Barry, Kirsty. There's so many great guys who really just everybody, because obviously this was during a crazy time, because we shot during the pandemic, and we had a very small team, you know, we had very limited money, and everybody went over and above their role. You know, we had people who were not booms doing boom, you know, we had people doing runners, you know, everybody was prepared to just get their hands dirty and just get on and just do something that they can do, if they've got the capacity to do it, and they did. So we had a great team, and yeah, I can't say more than that. Really, it was just amazing to work with them all. Yeah,
I think obviously that actually leads me to my next question, because all I have is a two parts to this. I mean, how long did it take to shoot, and also, I mean, how did you cope with COVID? I mean, what were the big challenges for you when, you know, obviously when, you know, I mean, it was not just for filmmaking. I mean, obviously, you know, I mean, central London was like a bloody ghost town when, you know, I mean, I actually was walking around that area. I mean, you know, and it just didn't fit. It felt so surreal with all those shops saying, oh, due to COVID, we're closed and so. So tell us a bit more about actually what happened in terms of shooting Purple Beatz.
Yeah, so yeah, as you know, yeah, because we were, although yes, I always say COVID was a curse to the world, but it was a blessing for us to shoot the film, because partly all the locations that were secured for the film, they will cost hundreds and thousands of pounds for us to shoot in, but because obviously they were closed for quite a long period of time, they were prepared to give it to us for little to nothing, and I'm so grateful for that we were able to achieve that. When it came to, you know, like shooting certain scenes where we had to get extras, that was a huge challenge, because we were, you know, trying to find many, like 50, 80 people in a space to fill up to recreate a rave scene was that was I think we even lost a day. Yeah, we did lose a day actually. We lost a day when we were shooting because we weren't able to get enough bodies to shoot, but we were in that location for 2 days, so we made up for it. But that was a challenge because many people didn't feel comfortable being in a sort of space like that because obviously of COVID. But yeah, we made it work. We really did. We did have a lot of controls in place. So we were swabbing, we were, wipes, using hand wipes, gels, so obviously face masks. And we were very, very militant about, in that aspect. And thankfully it worked because no one caught COVID during the shoot. And it was quite intense, obviously, because of, people were under a lot of pressure. It was a very fast shoot, as in, we were jumping from one place to the next, which was very exhausting for everybody involved. It was really, it was difficult. I'm not going to lie, it was. There was some moments I thought, oh my God, what am I doing? Why did I decide to do this during this time? Because it was very stressful, but we made it work in the end. Everybody would, they believe in the vision, they believe in the projects, and I think that obviously, if they didn't feel that way, then obviously, cracks would obviously start to appear. But because they did believe in the project, they believe in the film, they loved the story, and I think that's the reason why it worked, and then we were able to get to the finish line. Yeah, so and we shot over it was meant to be a 22-day shoot, but we had a couple of more days extra because of various other things. So overall, about 24 days shoot. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, I mean, let's talk a little bit about who and what are your key cinematic influences. This is a question for your pair of you. So just tell us what cinematic influences are there for you?
Izzy?
Oh, cinematic influences. Just in general.
Yeah. I mean, just generally, because I mean, we all have that spark or that seed. I mean, myself, I mean, I've been a movie fan for decades. I mean, what was it that kind of, when you look at the big screen or something, was there a particular movie that you kind of saw and for that you thought, oh, this is something I wouldn't mind pursuing?
Yeah, actually, so much of my younger experience of film is like old movie musicals, so like Singing in the Rain, really rogue ones like American in Paris, or I say like one of my favorite films is Moulin Rouge, and I'm a fan of Baz Luhrmann because I just think he's just so playful and cinematic, in the way that he tells stories. And I remember seeing Moulin Rouge, and I was like, oh, it's like it's everything that I love. It's like the music, it's the storytelling, it's like that bohemian kind of spirit, and it just looked so much fun. I just remember thinking that film looked really fun, and from that point, I've just always I've loved cinema, I've loved TV, and especially recently with TV kind of coming into its own game. It's like a whole new booming industry now in terms of series being this thing, and I think I attribute my love of film to old musicals again, which is like an influence probably of my parents, but yeah.
Okay, and what about you, Lala? What sort of films sort of shaped your creativity and journey?
Yeah, so for Purple Beats specifically, because obviously it's set in the 90s, so Human Nature was one film that we looked at to try and get that energy of 90s and just the gritty of it all, and the color and the lightning. So what because obviously, so each character, I decided to have a color. I had to have a theme about them, an aura. So for Izzy's character, she was more purple, hence the name. Well, she was lilac actually, but so we kind of like adopt that color to adopt that. We adopted lilac for Izzy, and then for Aaron and for the other guys was red and orange. So basically, so they all had their lightning color. So the purpose was that because obviously in the 90s, the clubs and the raves were it was very funky, bright lights, and you had your acid light, your lilac, and your your greens and your purples and all of it kind of like, so I wanted us to capture that as well. So we feel that each character adopts that color, that lightning as well. And of course the camera angles, like the Dutch camera angles. So when she was taking her drugs, you know, we thought a lot more close-ups would be good for her because we wanted to see the intensity of what she's going through when she's popping the pills or when she's smoking, or not smoking, when she's sniffing certain drugs. And it was just, I wanted to achieve a very personal, in your face approach. So there was a lot of close-ups, there was a lot of color, a lot of shaking camera movements. And it's just to make the audience feel, okay, they are going through this bumpy ride with this character, who obviously is going through a difficult path to get to her, you know, to get to her journey, her final destination. So that's so the 90s dance movies, there's not that many. No, apart from the Human Nature, I think, remember what it's called.
Human Traffic, I think you're talking
Human
about.
Traffic, that's it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, because I remember, because I do remember seeing that, and I think it's a Human Nature. I thought, is she thinking about?
No, Traffic. You're right.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, Welsh Acid House, I think.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, so there's not many to capture that same mood. So we had to recreate things and just, you know, decide what would work for this particular story, and that's what you see in Purple Beats, really. Yeah.
Okay, so obviously, I mean, do you see this as a series of films that's going to explore that era? I mean, sometimes you get filmmakers and they say we're going to do it as a trilogy, or or are we going to see something different from you as a follow-up to Purple Beats?
Oh yeah, so something different. I don't think it'll be a trilogy. It'll be great to expand more, because the thing is, I don't know if you noticed, but there's quite a few films coming out that's set in the 90s. So there seems to be a growing hunger for that era, because it's not that long ago, but it's so different because there was no social media. You know, a lot of things is different to then and now. So there's quite a few films coming out that's set in that period, which is quite interesting to see. But there won't be a trilogy or two-part for this. But you never know. You never know. But definitely, my next project is 360. It's a psychological thriller, so it's completely different to a romantic drama. So yeah.
Okay, so obviously I understand that you've got a production house called EWAV Works. I mean, which you launched and stuff, and you've done various things. I mean, this is your directorial debut, but tell us a bit more about what your immediate and long-term plans are for that, for the production house you've created.
Yeah, well, it's been going on for a while. We were doing, initially, we was obviously doing shorts, and then we moved into training, film and animation training for young kids. And then obviously at the same time, we were still doing production work. So it's still ongoing. We're still going to keep on making films, but hopefully it'll be bigger and better movies. So that's the long-term goal.
Okay. And Izzy, I've got to turn to you because I understand from what I learned is you're writing a play. And just tell us a bit more about that and what your other projects are.
Yeah, so currently writing a play, which is a new one for me. It's a semi-autobiographical, and it really explores culture, it explores identity, and it's it's going to be quite abstract, but I'm kind of just testing the water to see where my writing kind of goes. But I'm really excited about it. I'm sort of every day I'm sort of getting as much writing done as I can. So we'll see if that flourishes. And it's been a really refreshing thing to kind of take on, as well as doing the acting. Because I've always wanted to be involved in kind of bigger creative processes, like I love collaboration and things. So that's kind of taking place, and I'm ideally, when that becomes a thing, I'll try and get that on and act in it as well. So fingers crossed for that. And in terms of other projects coming up, I do have a project that I'm going to work on in the next month, but I can't say much more than that at the moment. But I'm sure when more comes out, I'll get back to you on that one.
Oh no, it's fine. It's okay, Izzy. I mean, I'm not really wanting to do that. I mean, in some ways, I'd rather sort of wait and see, really, because you know, sometimes people pry too hard and then rumors start and everything else. So that's it. Anyway, I've got two final questions. Lola, I mean, this is your directorial debut. I mean, what are the big challenges about making your debut? I mean, what advice can you give people starting out, and what are the big lessons that you've learned?
Oh, good question. The challenges was, I think for me personally, was whether I'll be able to get it done. If we put COVID aside, it was just because making a short is, you know, it's a walk in the park, isn't it? You know, you don't need that many people. We just need a camera and a good script and some great talent. But feature, there's so many moving parts to it, and just making sure that the set's okay, the crew's okay, cast is okay. Because I'm not one to just say, okay, I'm going to focus only on the creative and just look at that only. My mind's on every other thing that's going on set. I can't shut off like that. So for me personally, it was a bit of a challenge only because I was everywhere and not just focusing on directing. But I think obviously moving forward, when you have a bigger budget, you have more people on board to coordinate all those other pieces, then you can then focus on your craft rather than focus on everything else. So I think for me personally, advice I would give is really, you know, you need to know what you're doing basically, for starters, because everybody can say, oh, I want to be a director. And I never went to film school per se, but I learned along the way. I never went to writing school. I learned everything's all self-taught for me. But it's always good to have strong people around you who do know what they're doing, because there's always an issue where, for example, if editing, for example, is a beast in itself, and I used to love to edit, but now we're using things called Avids that I've never used before. So it's always good to have very strong people in there who know what they're doing, who surround you, and you can delegate to them, so you feel comfortable. Okay, I'm not focusing on this area, but I know I've got somebody who does know what they're doing in that area, and I don't have to worry that this person is doing anything rubbish because they are actually good in what they do. So for me, that's one thing I would advise. Always make sure that you have strong people surrounding you who know their craft really well, so they can tell you, okay, Lola, you're chatting rubbish. We can't do that shot. And I'm like, why? And then they explain why. So it's just making sure that you have strong, a strong talent, a strong team around you. I think that's very, very critical. I can't remember what your second question was.
Oh no, it's all right. That's all I was saying. I mean, I mean, you've explained it. I mean, I did. It was about the lessons you've learned, and so you go.
Right. Okay.
I mean, just to say that that's actually quite inspiring, because obviously there are obviously people out there who will think, oh, I can't do this. But the thing about it now is that it's a more democratic thing. You can pick up a digital camera and a sound unit, and away you go. I mean, I worked with somebody on a film recently, and I was just amazed that that's what they had. There was no big trailers or anything. So obviously, my final question as we bow out is to you both, and it's really, what are you most proud of about Purple Beatz?
Izzy?
I am. Do you know what? I'm most proud of being able to tell a full story as a lead, and on top of that, to see out a full character story that involves music, that involves singing, that I feel really close to, and I'm just really proud of the whole team and how we came together. In a time that was really shaky, and we created something, and we told a story. So I'm really proud of the sort of the songs and the things that I created as part of the film, and that I hopefully did it justice, and brought that character to life. So yeah.
Right. And Lola, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm just proud of, although I've not been, I think I've been a bit of in denial for a while, because I didn't think it would come this far, if you know what I mean. And the thing is that self-doubt that's speaking in my ear. But no, I'm super proud that we have really, we've done it really. We have created some fantastic work. It's beautifully done. It looks great on cinema, on screen TV. And I'm just proud that, the story that was that I was working many years ago, not many years, but a couple of years ago. It's now, you know, it's now doing what it needs to do in the world, and hopefully it will inspire people as well. Because my story is a bit of an interesting one, but I do hope that this will inspire somebody else to go out and, you know, pursue whatever it is they want to pursue, and they shouldn't believe that any limitation, you know, or there will be limitations, no doubt. There will be challenges, there will be stops along the way, but you know, we just pursued it and just kept on pushing, and that's what I hope everyone takes away from that as well. And yeah.
Well, listen, I think you've got every reason to be proud. I mean, I saw it again at your premiere at the BFI South Bank, and again, it's a wonderful independent movie, not only because it celebrates a time gone past in the 90s, which people will tap into, but also, like Train Spotting and Human Traffic, we see what's refreshing. It's a diverse, it's a female-driven piece, and I think that's really what people should be celebrated. I mean, whatever happens in the future, hopefully this will be the first step towards bigger things. Anyway, Izzy, Lola, thank you very much. Just wrapping up.
Thank you.
Okay, just wrapping up. As mentioned earlier, Purple Beats bows in the UK on October the 24th, and then the US the day later on October the 25th. You can watch a replay of this interview on my official YouTube channel, John Higgins Film Review, along with other interviews I've recorded over the years, including one with Olia Operina, who worked with the late Elena Hutchins on a short film called I Am Normal. For more articles, interviews, and reviews, you can go to filmandtvnow.com, and also check out my brand new film resource website, What Movie, which we launched in April at www.whatmovie.co.uk. Thank you both again, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Bye.
Take care.